Hello and welcome to Richmond TV's Community Focus. I'm your host, Jason Robbins, and we have a wonderful show for you today. We have Jarrod and Rob here from Richmond Community Theater to talk about their upcoming charity show, Glitch. How you doing today?
Doing okay, how are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you both for joining me today.
Thank you for having us.
Not a problem, anytime. So what can you tell us about the show Glitch?
So, the show is about my experience with the condition epilepsy. And so the reason I wrote it is because the film, theater, and television industry has made many different productions about many different health conditions. And it's important to show that, to show people that are similar to the characters that they're not alone.
Mm-hmm.
One thing I noticed about the industry is that they have never really made a production about epilepsy.
Mm-hmm.
And I decided to take that into my own hands, and I wrote Glitch. I went through 3 different... I'm sorry. Yeah, I think we might have to redo that. Is that okay?
Oh, just start with 3 different.
Okay. 3 different drafts.
Mm-hmm.
And the first draft was more fictional. It wasn't based on my life. And I liked that script, but I thought that the show would connect better with the audience if it was actually based on a true story.
Mm-hmm.
So I got more personal and talked about my actual experience.
Right. So, what's that like actually, as you're putting this play together? I mean, you got it written 3 times, as you normally would. And then you're putting together the show. How is it seeing it starting to come together and you're seeing your own words put on stage?
It's really interesting because you don't know what to expect, really, because I picked the right cast, and when you cast good actors, they throw in their own ideas that can be better than the ones that you thought of while you were writing the script.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really interesting to watch, and my cast has done an amazing job. They're putting hard work and dedication into this show. And Rob right here is portraying me.
Mm-hmm.
And not only does he, since we've known each other for a long time, he knows my personality traits well, yes, but he also knows the devastation that I went through with epilepsy, and he shows that really good. And later on in the show, he also shows the hope that began to develop throughout my life when I realized that I could defeat the enemy.
Right. Rob, what is it like having to play, one of your essentially one of your friends, but it's you as an actor, so you still have, like you were saying, you bring your own ideas to the role and everything. So how does that work?
It honestly was more challenging than I was expecting, just because I have known him for so long, but certain parts of like the character he wrote, I noticed different ways to bring his like actual emotions to it. Like there are certain things he'll do just whenever he's like standing idly.
Mm-hmm.
So being able to like slowly morph into him has been honestly kind of fun. Just like different mannerisms that he'll do, like even like little verbal tics that weren't originally in the script, I've started like putting in a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
The bigger challenge was trying to maintain, because he's my friend, and like you always want to like have a little fun with your friends, but also trying to really hit home what he went through.
Right. Because it's not something that you're trying to make light of. It's something that you're trying to be serious about, but at the same time, you do want to jab at your friend a little bit.
Oh, absolutely.
So when does the show happen?
The show will be performed January 6th, 7th, and 8th. The 6th and 7th show times are 8 o'clock, and the 8th will show...
You can start over. Let's just start over from that last question.
Mm-hmm.
I'll ask it again. So what day is the show?
The show will be performed January 6th, 7th, and 8th. The 6th and 7th show times are 8 o'clock, And the 8th, which is Sunday, show will be at 2 p.m.
Okay, and the doors open a half hour before?
Correct.
Yep. So, how much are ticket prices?
$10, and half of the
Proceeds.
half the proceeds will go to the Epilepsy Foundation.
Okay. Oh, that's really cool that you're able to put together the show and actually have it for a. You're not only sending the message, you're also helping with the organization that helps research and help people deal with the condition, with epilepsy as a condition.
Yeah, and I'm glad that I get to present many other facts about epilepsy that not many people will know of.
So it's really cool that Richmond Community Theater and yourself are not only bringing attention to a condition, but also that you're using the money that you would make from this to donate to an organization that helps other people deal with epilepsy as a condition.
Right, exactly. And the audience is probably going to learn many new things that they probably didn't before. So many different things. Like at one point in the show, one of the characters mentions a bunch of celebrities that had the condition. Like, for example, the late music legend Prince. He had epilepsy. And audio from an interview he had with somebody plays at the beginning of the show, and he talks about his experience, and other names are mentioned, like President Roosevelt had epilepsy, Vincent van Gogh, Susan Boyle, and Cameron Boyce, who sadly passed away from a seizure. And it's interesting how they never talked about it, because many people with epilepsy are afraid to bring it up. Because for me, when I was younger, I didn't bring it up because I thought it was embarrassing, and I was afraid to bring it up. But then years later, I realized that it's okay to talk about it because it'll let people know they aren't alone. There's millions of other people like me out there.
So yeah, when we're talking about showcasing epilepsy, it's usually in media. It's usually shown as like some kind of narrative tool to drive the plot along, or not something. It's not just always the convulsing on the floor. I mean, it can be that, but it's more than that, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. In fact, one of the other epileptic characters in the show has something called an absent seizure. That is not like in a grand mal, which is, you know, the ones where people drop down on the floor and shake. An absent seizure is when someone just freezes and stares off into space and can't talk for about a minute. And sometimes they get a little dizzy, right? And those are the ones that aren't exactly noticeable. Sometimes when I had them in the past, people that didn't know I had epilepsy were like, hey, you dozing off? And it's important to explain other kinds of seizures because it needs to be known, especially when
especially when. So just start from there. Especially
from
when
seizures.
Yeah.
Especially when not a lot of people know of it.
Now, during the production of a show, it's always a lot of fun. I've been a part of them in the past, and so what kind of I feel like that with it being your play, written by you, directed by you, that there's a little bit more, not necessarily freedom, but there's probably a little bit of goofing around during rehearsals and stuff. Do you have any funny stories you could tell us?
Actually, last night, there's a scene where I'm having a phone conversation with a supposed friend. And during the entirety of the phone conversation, I would hold up my cell phone to my left ear, and I would have the Facebook photo of the character playing my dad just here for like everyone to see. We've kind of formed like this little this group around him against his will.
And right after he pulled that little prank with the actor on his phone, I was writing notes, right? And one of the notes I wrote down was, Rob, do not have a picture of Dan on your phone while talking on the phone.
Oh, good old Dan. We've got like a little candle like tribute to him in our theater's basement and everything. Like all of this completely against his will.
Of course.
We love you, Dan.
Just make sure he watches this so he knows.
Oh, he'll know.
All right. So is there anything else you guys would like to talk about?
I guess one of the most challenging scenes that I think I had going into this, he mentioned the absent seizure before. Brett will at one point have a grand mal seizure. And one thing I really stressed to myself was I've seen too many times where something like that was taken for like a comedic effect.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to make sure that that had to hit home.
Right. This is supposed to be a dramatic
Yeah.
moment. It's not supposed to.
I've never had like a role where I've done this sort of thing before. I'm usually like either background or just comic relief kind of characters. So being able to like challenge myself with doing such a heavy scene,
Mm-hmm.
I really am excited for people to see.
Mm-hmm.
It's honestly, I feel like it's coming together every day.
Yeah, going back to what Rob said about how it needs to be serious and not like seen as a joke. There have been plenty of films and TV productions in the past that have made fun of how seizures are and have like overdone it. Like there was this one Netflix movie called The After Party, and one of the characters ends up having a seizure. And he completely overdid it. They obviously just wanted to make fun of it, and that was just wrong. And I wanted to make sure that with my production, especially since it's based on a true story, that it wasn't taken comedically, and
Right.
to make sure it was done right. Like, I recommended to Rob to watch some actual real-life recordings of a seizure and to watch a film called, what's it called? It has Russell Crowe. Oh, yeah, called Fathers and Daughters. He acts out a seizure properly,
Okay.
and he does it dramatically, and he obviously did his research too. So that's the stuff I recommended to Rob, and he's obviously listened to my recommendations. And he even asked me one day, hey, how exactly did the seizures go? And I acted it out for him. And for some of them, it was a little tough to watch, but he obviously kept his eye on me and made sure all of the arm movements, the facial twitches, and the eyes, he made sure to pay attention to all of that, and he just copied all of that perfectly.
So great. Well, I personally can't wait to see the show. I always love it when we have people when we have creative people who come in and make an entire play, because that's not easy to do.
Right.
That is extraordinary, because I know a lot of community theaters, it's mainly just like buying rights to different plays and stuff, in which that's great and grand.
Yeah.
But it really is special when you have people come in and actually write their own stuff and put it together.
Yeah.
So amazing. Love it.
It took long to write the final draft because I wanted to make sure that all of the real life people in the story were given an opportunity to express how they felt during my diagnosis. Like my mother and my father, they were devastated. They were shocked. But my mother and my father kept their chin up and did everything they could to make sure that I lived a normal life, or at least try to live a normal life as much as I could. And there's a few scenes in the show where I bring up how my faith got me through it. When I was younger, I only focused on how bad this was going to affect me.
Right.
And then later on, I realized Man Upstairs was the real source of strength, and I always relied on him, and it worked. And in fact, I had brain surgery to stop the epilepsy from continuing, and there's a little scar right here. And I was terrified. There was only like a 60% chance of it actually working. And one day when I was laying there with the grids connected to my brain. I was sleeping, and my mom, she was just bawling her eyes out when she figured out that there was 40% chance of it working. And then at one point, she gets a text from her friend saying that she was praying. And there was a point in the show where Rob says the power of hope and prayer is stronger than you think. And I believe that. And yeah, that's a little bit of a sneak peek of what will happen in the show.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Jarrod, for coming and talking to us about it. Same with you, Rob. Thank you so much for joining us on the show.
Thanks for having us.
Great to have you. Always good to have the theater here, and so you can catch the charity show Glitch on January 6th, 7th, and 8th. 6th and 7th is at 8 p.m. And on the 8th, it's at 2 p.m. Doors open a half hour early. Tickets are $10. You can make sure you can go check out their website at richmondtheater.com. And I believe that they have a Facebook.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep. So check them out on Facebook. We'll have all, if you're watching this on YouTube, we'll have all the links to everything that we've talked about in the description below. Thank you for joining us, and have a great day.